Have you ever been completely pulled in by someone's intensity, only to feel them disappear the moment things get close? 1 minute, they crave intimacy, the next, they vanish into silence. This is the world of the fearful avoidant. And when sex enters the picture, it gets even more confusing. Let's pull back the curtain on this deeply misunderstood dynamic. Here are 7 shocking patterns that will leave even the most secure person questioning everything. 1. They crave deep connection, but fear being seen during intimacy. A fearful avoidant may connect with intensity, emotionally and physically. It feels real, it is real, but after the connection, they often retreat, because being truly seen triggers fear. 2. They initiate passion, then pull back hard. They might be the first to express desire. They'll make you feel chosen, wanted, even special, but once they've had sex, it's almost as if a wall goes up. Their system gets flooded, and retreat becomes the only way to feel safe again. 3. They mix desire with distrust. They want closeness, yet they don't trust what comes with it. After sex, they might question your motives. Do they really love me, or is this just about sex? The irony is, they question your intentions while being unsure of their own. 4. They use sex to feel worthy, then feel ashamed for it. To a fearful avoidant, sex can be a way to feel lovable. It becomes validation, but afterward they may spiral into guilt or shame, asking themselves, did I give too much away? Was I used? 5. They sabotage good intimacy. If it feels too safe, too healthy, too available, they might panic. Healthy intimacy feels foreign. They might even provoke conflict or withdraw, just to re-establish the emotional distance they've always known. 6. They disappear after emotional sex. This isn't random. Sex that touches the heart, that's terrifying. They fear emotional enmeshment even when they deeply want it. So, instead of leaning in, they vanish. 7. They confuse you because they're confused themselves. The most heartbreaking truth. They're not trying to play games. They are in a constant tug-of war, love and fear, connection and distance, and you're caught in the crossfire. So, what can you do? Understand that it's not about you. And your job isn't to fix or save someone who's not ready to face their wounds. It's to love yourself enough to recognize when you're stuck in someone else's emotional loop. Sex should be an expression of intimacy, not a battlefield of fear and shame. When someone can't meet you in that space, you have 2 choices: lower your standards or raise your boundaries. Choose the one that protects your peace, because love isn't just about chemistry, it's about consistency. And no matter how deep the spark, real intimacy only survives in the presence of emotional safety. Fearful avoidants crave connection. They long for intimacy, closeness, and emotional safety. But the moment they start to feel truly seen, truly exposed, something deep within them pulls back. It's not because they don't care, it's because caring, really caring, activates a fear that was wired in long before you ever entered the picture. Imagine wanting to be held and simultaneously fearing what being held might reveal about you. That's the inner world of a fearful avoidant. They can be deeply affectionate. They can show you moments of warmth, laughter, even vulnerability. But as soon as you respond with genuine presence, something shifts. The emotional exposure becomes too real. They begin to feel like they are under a spotlight. And for someone who's been conditioned to fear rejection, abandonment, or judgment, that spotlight feels dangerous. So they do what feels safest. They retreat, they shut down, they detach. They may not even realize they're doing it. To them, it might feel like suddenly needing space, or questioning if the connection is too much, too soon. They might disappear for a day, a week, or even longer, without warning or clear explanation. To you, it feels personal. To them, it feels like survival. The truth is, fearful avoidants are not trying to manipulate. They're trying to protect a part of themselves that has always felt fragile. They've likely experienced situations in their past where being emotionally open led to pain. Maybe they were shamed for their feelings. Maybe they were abandoned when they needed love the most. So now, even if they meet someone safe, someone genuine, they subconsciously assume the same pattern will repeat. It's like their heart wants love, but their nervous system sounds an alarm every time it gets close. So closeness starts to feel like a threat, even though it's the very thing they desire. They live in this emotional contradiction, longing for connection, but fearing what connection demands, vulnerability. And the fear of being seen isn't just about you seeing their flaws, it's about you seeing their need, their softness, their desire to be chosen. To a fearful avoidant, needing someone feels like weakness. So when they sense that you're seeing that part of them, when you respond with real care, with emotional depth, they pull away to protect themselves from the pain they assume is coming next. They don't want to feel dependent. They don't want to be exposed, so they run, even if your love is real, even if they feel something powerful, and in that space, they might question everything, not just the relationship, but themselves. Their ability to trust, their worthiness to receive love without conditions. They often initiate intimacy. They reach out with warmth, with desire, with charm that feels magnetic. In those moments, they can seem deeply engaged, even emotionally present. It feels real. It feels honest. It feels like they've let their guard down. They might be the first to say they've missed you. They may initiate physical closeness, deep conversation, or emotional bonding. And when you're with them in that space, you believe you're finally seeing the real person behind the walls. But then, something changes. After the connection is made, especially if it's deep or vulnerable, they start to pull back. The emotional energy shifts. The warmth that was so alive just hours ago suddenly cools down. They become distant, unreachable, as if the connection you shared never even happened. You wonder if you imagined it, if you misread the signals, if you said something wrong. But it's not about what you did. It's about what they felt. Fearful avoidants often feel a rush during intimacy, emotional or physical. It's a moment when their guard lowers and their need for connection finds expression. But once that closeness is experienced, it triggers their deepest fears. Fear of being dependent, fear of losing control, fear of being hurt again, and those fears don't arrive logically. They come in silently, like a wave of discomfort that they can't fully explain. So they shut down, not because they stopped caring, but because caring feels dangerous. They start to question the closeness. They wonder if they gave too much, if they opened up too fast, if they made themselves vulnerable in a way they'll regret. So they emotionally retreat, not always with words, often just with silence, coldness, or distance. You might try to reach them again. You might text, call, or offer understanding, but their wall is back up. And now they may feel shame for opening up at all. They may even blame you subtly or directly for the intensity of the moment, not because you did anything wrong, but because blaming you helps them create distance. It helps them feel like they're back in control, that they're safe again. This cycle can be deeply confusing. To you, it looks like inconsistency. To them, it feels like emotional survival. They're not withdrawing because you're unworthy. They're withdrawing because closeness feels like a threat to the emotional armor they've worn for years. So they initiate intimacy when it feels safe to open the door, and then they close it the moment that intimacy reflects something too real, too raw, too exposing. You see connection, they feel exposure, you feel love, they feel fear, and even if their heart wants to stay open, their past tells them it's safer to shut it down. Sex triggers confusion because it clashes with their internal distrust. To most people, sex can feel like a bonding experience, something that brings two people closer together. But for someone with a fearful avoidant attachment, it's much more complicated. On the surface, they may crave the connection. They may even seek it out, hoping to feel loved, desired, or validated. In the moment, they might appear fully present, passionate, engaged, open, but underneath that, there's a storm building because sex isn't just physical for them. It awakens deeper emotional fears, fears they've spent years trying to suppress. As soon as the moment passes, their mind starts spinning. Doubts begin to creep in. Did I let them get too close? Do they only want me for this? Am I being used, or am I the one using them? They begin to question your motives, but more painfully, they start questioning their own. This is the painful contradiction they live with. They want connection, they want to be wanted, but when sex happens, it often opens up a floodgate of insecurities. Because real intimacy, emotional or physical, requires a level of trust, and trust is exactly what they struggle with the most. They may start to feel exposed, not just physically, but emotionally vulnerable in a way that feels unsafe. So instead of feeling bonded, they feel unsettled. Instead of feeling secure, they feel suspicious. This creates a loop of internal conflict. They wanted the closeness, they said yes to it, but now they're unsure if they can handle what it means. Sometimes they pull away right after, sometimes they act cold or distant, not because they regret being with you, but because their nervous system is trying to protect them from the pain they believe is coming next. Sex to them isn't just pleasure, it's risk. It's a situation where they feel seen, touched, and possibly judged, and that judgment, whether real or imagined, reactivates old wounds. They might start replaying old messages from their past. Messages like "you gave too much," or "you're only loved for what you offer," or "now they'll leave you." These beliefs aren't conscious, but they're powerful, and they hijack what could have been a moment of genuine connection. So what feels like confusion to you, a sudden shift, a withdrawal, an emotional shutdown, is actually them wrestling with a part of themselves they've never learned to fully trust, the fear that sex equals loss. The belief that closeness means danger, the suspicion that love always comes with conditions. Even when their heart is trying to believe otherwise, their past won't let them feel safe in the present. They may use sex to feel validated, then feel shameful about it. It's not always a conscious decision. In fact, most of the time, they're not even aware they're doing it. They're simply following a deep emotional craving, the need to feel wanted. For someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style, validation doesn't always come from words. It often comes from moments where they feel chosen, and sex can become one of those moments. In that space, they may feel powerful, desired, loved even. For a short time, it quiets the voice in their head that says they're not enough. Sex becomes more than physical. It becomes proof that they matter, proof that they can still connect, proof that someone sees them and says yes. But after the moment passes, the emotional high begins to fade, and something darker sets in. They begin to question what just happened. Did I do that for the right reason? Was I trying to feel loved? Or was I just afraid of being alone? Do they still respect me? Do I still respect myself? And then comes the shame, not because they did anything wrong, but because they feel exposed. Because now, they're left with the emotional consequences of a moment they hoped would make them feel whole. Instead, they feel more uncertain than before. They may start to blame themselves, feel dirty, feel like they gave too much, or fear that they've now lost their value. This shame doesn't come from the act itself. It comes from what it represents to them. They might believe they used sex as a tool to gain closeness instead of being met with unconditional emotional connection, and when the validation doesn't last, when it doesn't fix the emptiness inside, they turn inward, harsh and critical. Why do I always do this? Why can't I just feel okay without needing someone to touch me to believe I'm worth something? These thoughts spiral. They don't share them out loud, but they carry them. Heavily, to the outside world, it might look like they're confident, in control, even seductive, but inside, it's often a cry for reassurance they never learned to ask for directly. And because they never fully receive that reassurance, the cycle repeats. Use connection to feel valuable, then feel ashamed for seeking that validation in the first place. It's a painful loop, one that leaves them doubting their worth, questioning their choices, and pushing away the very love they were trying to feel in the first place. Secure, healthy intimacy can scare them more than chaotic love. It sounds strange, doesn't it? You'd think everyone would want a stable, calm, consistent kind of love. But for someone with a fearful avoidant attachment style, that kind of love feels unfamiliar. And the unfamiliar often feels unsafe. They've grown used to chaos, emotional highs and lows, the rush of being wanted, and then the pain of being left. That pattern becomes normal, expected, even comfortable in a twisted way. So when someone comes along and offers peace, patience, and steady care, it doesn't feel exciting. It feels threatening, because calm doesn't match their inner world. Inside, there's conflict, a war between the part of them that craves security and the part that doesn't know how to trust it. They might question your intentions. Why are they being so nice to me? What do they want? Is this real? And not because you've done anything wrong, but because they've learned that love often comes with a price. A price they're always afraid to pay. So instead of leaning into the safety you offer, they might pull back, sabotage, create drama where there is none, pick fights, go cold, not because they want to hurt you, but because they're trying to recreate a dynamic that feels more familiar. And chaos, as painful as it is, feels like home. When things get calm, they wait for the storm. When you love them gently, they assume betrayal is hiding behind your smile. When you don't chase, they wonder if you really care. When you show up consistently, they get overwhelmed and think it's too much. It's not that they don't want healthy love, they do, desperately, but healthy love asks for things they've never learned how to give: trust, vulnerability, presence, consistency, and when those things are offered to them, they don't know what to do with them. It's like handing someone a gift they never believed they were allowed to receive. So they resist, not because they want chaos, but because they fear what comes next if they let themselves relax into peace. What if they get comfortable and then you leave? What if they open up and then get hurt again? What if being loved without conditions reveals wounds they've kept buried for years? These are the fears that live under the surface, fears that whisper, don't trust it, don't get too close, don't believe this will last. And so, the very thing that could heal them secure, healthy intimacy becomes the thing that scares them the most. So what does this all mean? It means that love, for the fearful avoidant, is a journey filled with contradictions. They want closeness but fear it, they crave peace but run toward chaos, they long to be held but pull away the moment they feel seen, and if you're someone trying to love them, you've probably felt that confusion deeply. You've tried to be patient, tried to understand, tried to stay steady in the face of their storms, but here's the truth: you can offer love, you can offer safety, but you can't do the healing for them. That's their work. And until they're ready to face those wounds, to sit with their fears instead of fleeing from them, they will continue to mistake real love for a threat. So if you're caught in that cycle, don't lose yourself trying to prove you're safe. Protect your peace, respect your worth, and remember, real love doesn't just come with connection. It comes with ***, consistency, courage, and clarity ***. And if someone isn't ready for that, then maybe, just maybe, you're not losing them, you're finally choosing ***.